As I'm celebrating my dad's birthday, kind of a milestone that my immediate family is getting together with my extended family, and we're just spending some time with my dad and just hanging out and being able to enjoy his birthday and celebrate him. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about dad. So thank you for joining me here on this channel. This is where we apply logic and conviction with news, politics, and whatever else comes up on my mind, like talking about dads. I'm C. Scott, and this is my view. So I just want to talk a little bit about dads today as I get this opportunity to celebrate my dad's 75th birthday. It's kind of a milestone, and we're glad and excited to be able to celebrate this time with our father, and my kids are spending time with their grandfather. A lot of times things happen in life where we don't know exactly how much time we have, and know of people who lost their fathers when their fathers were in their 40s or 50s, 60s, 70s, and sometimes you get a whole lot of years, 80, 90, 100 years that you get to spend with the father, and every day is a blessing. Every year encapsulates that. And while I'm sitting here, I just wanted to take a moment kind of to reflect on my dad, but just talk about dads in general. Dads are so important in life, and something that we kind of talk about during Father's Day. I'm sure I'll make a Father's Day video concerning it, but I just also want to talk about dads. If you look at dads and their position in our culture, really dads don't have a high role in our culture. And yes, moms are super important, and it seems like moms do a lot of the work or take a lot of the weight of the family, and there are a whole lot more single moms than there are single dads. But moms have been doing pretty well, and so we've kind of been paying attention to dads lately because a lot of dads haven't been doing what they are supposed to be doing. So this video is about dads. It's not in any way demeaning to moms or diminishing the role that women have in the family, but it's my dad's birthday, so we're going to talk about dads. So if we look in our culture, I think a lot of times we'll see that a lot of dads' roles have been diminished, or a lot of TV shows will show dad as a buffoon, an idiot, a moron who doesn't really know what's going on. It's not a lot of strong fathers that we see, I feel, in our culture. And there's also not a lot of fathers, or not as many fathers as we should have in real life. And so the dad role is kind of taking some punishment for different reasons. I think some of it is very well earned by what dads have done and become, or whatever, as a general category. But dads are important. Dads are so important to every person's life, whether they're a good dad or a bad dad. That dad is important, and as a dad, we have a role and a function to play. And when we do that well, it just enriches the whole life of our family, and especially for our children. So if you think about it, the dad, your dad, my dad, our dads, they impact our lives for the rest of our lives. No matter what, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, your dad impacts your life, whether they were a good dad or a bad dad. So God has created the family, and He made the family is supposed to operate with a mom and a dad. And then the kids are there, and they're supposed to, all fulfill their roles. And sometimes things happen. Sometimes we just make bad choices. Sometimes things unfortunate happen in life, and we don't always have both of our parents, and that's very unfortunate. But ideally, we are supposed to have two, and mom has a role and dad has a role. And the dad, just like mom, will impact your life forever. You'll either spend the rest of your life living up to what your dad taught you and helped you become, or what he leads you to become, or you might spend the rest of your life living it in such a way to spite your dad. Sometimes we'll live for our dad in a pro version, or we'll live against what we believe our dad's impact or what their mindset was. But either way we look at it, your dad is going to affect your life. And so again, just talking about how important dads are, we need to realize that role, and we need to embrace that role, celebrate that role, and when we're in position, we need to make sure that we take full care of our responsibility. I'm very, very thankful for my dad. I've always had a good dad. My parents have always been married for my whole life, and I'm very, very thankful for that. And again, it's not everybody's story and situation, but I think it is to be honored and celebrated because it makes life so much better than it could be. And that doesn't mean that if you don't have both of your parents, everything is going to be terrible. Things will be more difficult. But I believe as we trust in God, that God can fill those gaps and make up the differences that are needed when we don't have both of our parents. But as a culture, don't you think we should embrace that role and encourage that role and help as many people as possible fulfill that role Of course, I absolutely do. There are different groups out there. There are different, like I said, entertainment, things like that, where they diminish the role. You have Black Lives Matter just comes to mind because they specifically say they want to do away with the Western idea of the nuclear family. Like their mindset, one of their primary objectives is to blow up the nuclear family, which is parents and children. And sometimes, depending on what you look at, you have grandparents that are in there. And then they use words like the patriarchal this or that. And it's just talking about how men or dads being the head of households and the head of families, they want to diminish that role. And they're not the only group out there. There are plenty of groups and people out there. They just want to destroy that idea and that image. And I think we need to fight through that part of our culture completely as much as we can to obliterate it and celebrate the dad role in our lives. So no matter what, dads are going to impact our lives, good or bad. The other thing I want to talk about for dads is that if you're a dad or if you're a man, you might one day be a dad. Be a good dad. Do everything that you can to be a good dad to your children, whether you had a good dad or did not have a good dad. My dad was brought up in a blended family, but he made choices and did things to help raise his family in a different way. And again, I'm super grateful for that because he didn't have to. He could have followed his dad's example, which my papa, he wasn't a bad man. I knew him. I loved him. I don't have, any issues against him. But there were certain things that my dad's family went through growing up that I don't have to go through as I grow up, and that my children aren't having to go through because they see it in their grandfather, and then I'm also trying to fulfill that role for them. So if you're a dad out there, if you're going to be a future dad, be a good dad. Do what you can do to be a good dad. There are plenty of resources. There are books that you can read. There are mentors that you can find, people that have families that you see that are raised well. If you can look at children and see obedient children, successful children, different things like that, then there are some traits that you can find in their fathers most of the time. Or you find a person, a dad that has children, and when he has successful children, find out what he did. How did he raise children to do those things? Get some of that information so that you too can be a good dad. I grew up with a good dad, and I'm still trying to get information from wherever I can so that I can be the best dad I can be. There's a bunch of books out there. There's books by Dr. James Dobson, particularly on raising boys, but he also just has books on parenting. Books by another PhD, Meg Meeker. She writes books specifically about raising sons and also about raising daughters, because men and women are different, right? Boys and girls, we're different, and we need different things, and we have different expectations in our lives, different relationships with our parents. They also wrote books. There are government programs. There are state and charity run programs. I'll put some links in the description below, information that you can get to help you be a better dad. And I'm also looking at it so that I can be a better dad. We have to be the best dads that we could ever be for the sake of our children, but then it also spills out into our communities, into our country. Better dads make better countries. So look in the link below if you need some of that information. Even if you think you don't need it, just take a look at it. It'll never hurt just to be able to add some nuggets in your backpack. The other thing is, some of you ladies are like, well, I'm not going to be a good dad. This doesn't have anything to do with me. Yes, it does. If you're a lady out there and you're not married yet, find a good dad for your child. When we look to get married, we want a relationship. We want somebody that's good looking. We want somebody that we have fun with, and whatever other things that we, want them to be. We have a list, but don't forget, you're going to have little offspring that are going to come after you. And particularly if you're a lady, do what you can to find a good dad for your future children. Maybe you already have children. Make sure the man that you get involved with is going to be capable of being a good dad. He may not know everything, but certain guys want to do that and other guys go against it. Find a good dad for your children. Last thing I want to leave you with, whether you're a man or a woman, is to make the most of the relationship that you have with your dad. Some of us have good dads, some of us don't. The Bible says that we're supposed to honor our mother and our father. And I just want to encourage you, whatever situation that you're in, make the most of your relationship with your dad. Because when they're gone, they're gone. And they might not be gone for another 20 or 30 years. But if we continue to have a bad relationship with them instead of having 20 or 30 years of a better relationship with them, we may not get to that for 5 or 10 years down the road. And so we might have a lifespan of 20 good years with our fathers when we could extend it much more. So don't wait. Pray, forgive if you need to forgive. Do whatever it is that you can do. You can't do everything. You can't control how your dad will respond or react to you. And I understand that, but I'm just encouraging you, begging you, just make the most of the relationship that you have with your dad. Remember, there are sometimes issues. They make mistakes. There are things that they did in their past that they regret, but things in their past they can't fix. They can't go back and make up for those. And sometimes, they make those bad decisions and things like that, and it impacts us and it hurts us and things like that. And we can't change that, but we can try to move on from that. If you have a good dad, don't take for granted that your dad is going to be there forever. I want my dad to be here for like another 30 or 40 years. I want my dad to be here to see great grandchildren. And that's our hope and prayer. But different things happen in people's lives. And so I'm not going to wait around to spend time with my father. I want to spend time with him this birthday, and in 5 years when he's 80, I want to spend time with him at that birthday and all the birthdays in between. Whatever it is that you can do, embrace that relationship, enjoy that relationship, and enjoy it as much as possible. I'm really behind. There's some stuff, other videos that I need to get out and stuff like that, but I hope this one makes sense to you. I hope it is good information for you. You can leave some comments below. Also, if it's a good video, if it's an encouragement to you, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope you're having an excellent time in your life, whatever it is that you're doing. Please help me in wishing my father a very happy birthday. Dad, I love you. I want to continue to follow your example and be the best dad I can be. All right, friends, that's it. I'm C. Scott. I'm out of here.